What is up, people? I am back. It is Prophet. I'm coming today with a continuation of the series that I kind of stopped. I was having some mic issues. There were a lot of stuff going on, but I'm good. I'm back, and let's get into this video. This is just I think it was a regular TDM game. I was using the P90 and everything is, as you can see on the screen, but this is all specifically for what I was started originally a couple weeks ago, which was the next Call of Duty setup, or tools that you can use to make your game better. The reason I'm doing this now and I'm trying to get it out is because, as you know, they've just announced the collector's edition stuff for the next for Black Ops 2, and some of the stuff looks cool. Other things in it are kind of but I know that everyone really, after playing Modern Warfare 3 for this long, including me, who I'm 20th prestige, you know, completely done, I cannot wait for this game to come out. But let's get right into it. What I'm going to talk to you today is about controllers. And I know what everyone's thinking. Everyone's going to think that I'm going to break down latency in wireless versus wired controllers and everything like that. I'm going to touch on that. I am going to touch on that, but that's not the main point of the video. Honestly, if you have a wireless controller and it suits you, that's fine. If you have a wired controller and it suits you, that's fine as well. Latency isn't actually that big of an issue. There isn't a noticeable difference to the average player and even to some competitive players between the latency, which is usually about, I think it's like 4 or 5 milliseconds. So you're not even going to be able to notice that playing or seeing it. But the main thing that I'm talking about with controllers is find something that fits you right. Some people, like I said, are better with wireless controllers because they don't have to fumble with a cord. There's no chance that it can get unplugged and everything like that. Other people like wired controllers because then that way they don't have to worry about batteries, you know, disconnecting in the middle of a game and having to run and find batteries or have batteries charged up and ready and spending that extra money. But there is also another step above that. There is also the availability of modded controllers, you know, air quotes. I don't want to seem like it's cheating because it's really not. The way I'm discussing modded controls, I don't mean rapid fire or instant drop shot or better aim or anything like that. What I'm talking specifically is attachments that you can put on your controllers to help you perform better, and also controllers that have stuff built in that will do the same things as the accessories. Those specifically that I'm talking about are things like the Scuff controller, the I think it's called the Avenger controller, and things like ProMods has like the Pro Sticks, or you have the I can't remember the name of the other company that has the thumbstick extensions. And I'm going to break those down into different little subcategories. And this is all really based on what you do. If you're an average player, so what I mean by that is if you just play a couple rounds a night with some friends, then really spending the money for a wired controller doesn't behoove you. It's not really all that necessary because you're not going to notice it anyways, even if you had a wireless or a wired controller, and besides, you're not really that deep into it. So if you did want to go get something that helped your game up, I would suggest going for the thumbstick extenders that you can kind of snap on, because what those allow you to do is give you more precision when aiming. Because I'm going to go a little, I used to be an engineer, so I'm going to get a little technical with you, but if you think of a pole, the taller the pole is, the less amount you have to manipulate it in either direction, basically lean it to get the desired result. So meaning you could be more precise in your aiming, not necessarily movement, although in the past I have used those thumbstick extenders on both sticks, but it's just because I have longer fingers and it just feels more comfortable to me. So that would be my suggestion if you're just the average guy. Now, if you're wanting to get into a step above that and you want to get more serious about your gaming, then you can go with that was a fail knife, I'm so sorry, but you can get into the Avenger controller. And now this thing is really cool. It's a little crazy when you see it at first, but what it is basically a skin almost, or a little case that fits perfectly over your Xbox controller, and they also have it for the PS3, so you know, Sony fans, you're not left out. But what it does is it gives you the ability of putting basically like arms that stick out. That's why a lot of people call it like the spider controller or whatever like that. But what it is it has like arms and attachments on it that give you added range of motion in the sense it gives you a mechanical advantage, meaning you don't have to move your fingers completely off the controller to hit certain buttons, or you don't have to move your hand in certain directions to manipulate certain things. Now, that's for the average person, because that usually runs, I think it's about like 60, 70 bucks. So it's not too expensive, but then again, it's not necessarily all that cheap. The final thing that I wanted to cover is something that I use and I'm a big supporter of, which is the Scuff gaming controller. Now, it doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles like certain other controllers with extra buttons, basically, like the Razer Anza, for example, that has 50 million different buttons that you can do, and you can set the tension or the elasticity and the freedom of movement of the thumbsticks. It doesn't have all that. What it has is it gives you 2 paddles. And if you think of it like a racing game or a higher end car, it gives you basically paddle shifters, and you can, when you order it from them, you can get you can customize those 2 paddles to equal whatever you want. The most common thing that people do is use A and B, or jump and knife or jump and prone. I use it for that because I play on tactical, so I use my right thumbstick as prone. So if in Call of Duty, if you don't have a knife or you can't get to your knife button quick enough, you really screw yourself. So that's one thing to look at. It's really beneficial for me because, like I said, it gives me a better range of motion without cluttering it too much. That's why I suggest that over the Avenger if you're not used to having all this extra stuff, or if you have smaller hands. But what it basically boils down to is you really have to get used to what you're using. You have to get a controller and all the accessories that you want to get. You have to make sure that they fit you right and you can play with them, because above all else, it doesn't matter how expensive your controller is, whether it's like a $30, $40 standard Xbox wireless controller or a $5 million controller made by Stephen Hawking. It doesn't matter if you can't play the game. That's all I have for you guys today, and I will see you guys online.